Welcome back. You're watching the CNBC TV 18 special. We're in conversation with Arvind Panagariya on the NITI Aayog's 3-year action plan for India. There's an interesting headline in the papers today on how the action agenda has 67 references to China, sir, and how the recommendations seem to be inspired by China. And we're speaking about this on the day that both China and India have decided to de-escalate matters at Doklam. The Ministry of External Affairs putting out a statement saying that there is going to be a disengagement of personnel in Doklam from both sides. Do you believe that whether it's China's example on the export front, on the manufacturing front, on the labor-intensive manufacturing specifically, on creating large special economic zones, that this is what India should replicate?
I certainly believe so. I mean, we certainly have to start. So, and this is why we have just said, start with 2 such coastal employment zones. And make success of those, and then perhaps we come back to do more of those. But we certainly need it. We need to have the global firms in the labor-intensive sectors come to India instead of going to Vietnam or Bangladesh, which is what is happening today. So therefore, and remember that you mentioned multiple times that we use the Chinese example, but remember that this is the only country of India's size, and it is the one which has made huge progress in the last 15 years, and so therefore, for us, that is the current example on which we can draw. And in what way we can draw also connects to what is happening in China. We know that the wages in China are rising, and therefore many of the labor-intensive sector firms are wanting to move out of China, and so therefore I think there is a direct link for us with China.
Okay. Let me ask you then, sir, about the ease of doing business. And I know that NITI has been working on putting together recommendations as well as a study on where things currently stand. What has worked on the ground? Are you getting a sense that at least from a business perspective, enterprises feel that things have significantly changed when it comes to the ease of doing business?
So we had actually instituted this survey of enterprises, about 3,500 enterprises more than a year ago. This is being done jointly with the IDFC Institute in Mumbai, and we envisage about 2 reports. Certainly we are finding that the more recent enterprises that started their business after 2014 have the knowledge of better knowledge of the various changes that have been made than the enterprises that were founded earlier.
Okay.
So you do see a divide between the old and new enterprises. So progress is there, but we also find actually that many changes that have been made, sometimes enterprises do not know about those. So some of the single window facilities that have been created, a very large number of enterprises seem unaware of the fact that these single window facilities have been created. So therefore, I think there is going to be a need for ensuring that the information flow happens, that the enterprises know what the government has actually done. Because to be able to use the facility, you got to first know that such a facility actually exists.
Besides the information asymmetry, sir, what continues to be the big pressure point, the big pain points when it comes to the ease of doing business? What does the survey throw up?
So there, there's still, compared to what the officials feel, the enterprises seem to still take a bit longer to get their clearances. At least that is what our data are showing. At least
what is the gap, sir? Can you give me give me some sense of what the gap is between what officials feel and how long it actually takes an enterprise on the ground to get clearances?
Yeah. So I don't have the exact figures on me right now. So unfortunately I can't speak to that. But there is a gap. There is a gap.
Okay. Do you believe that the World Bank index doesn't seem to suggest that we made any significant improvement when it comes to the ease of doing business. Is your survey being able to capture the same national trend, or does it say something different?
You see, the problem with the World Bank, one is that it is focused on Delhi and Bombay. But you know, most businesses don't locate themselves in Delhi or Bombay. They go to Andhra Pradesh, they go to Gujarat. And certainly we find that these states have much better business environment than the benchmark, than the places like Bombay and Delhi, which is where the World Bank collects its numbers. So certainly what the bank needs to do is to collect its numbers in areas where the businesses actually go.
Okay, so you're saying that perhaps your data will look very different from what the World Bank index shows us. But let me end then by asking you, sir, this is perhaps going to be the last chance that we get to speak with each other before you leave office. You know, what would be the message that you would leave for your successor in terms of now that the 3-year plan is done? What is it that the NITI should focus on?
Well, now the institution is up and running. Various aspects that NITI was expected to cover via the cabinet resolution that created the institution are now largely covered. So we really need to scale up. We need to continue to build on that. In terms of specifics, I would say clearly the vision document still needs to be finished, and that should be a high priority item for my successor to actually complete it. About 75–80% of the work is done, and it will be good to see that brought to fruition. But our work, of course, with the states, with the policy making, there are a lot of policy areas with the central government also that would require the next Vice Chairman's attention. So there is a whole host of continuing issues of policy and implementation with which the next Vice Chairman have to get going.
All right, sir. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Appreciate you joining us here today on CNBC TV 18 with your take on the 3-year action plan put forward by NITI Aayog, as well as the ease of doing business. Always a pleasure. Many thanks indeed.
Likewise. Thank you.
With that, it is time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV 18 special from all of us here. Goodbye. Many thanks for watching.